The Sussexes, or should I say the Markles, have returned from their 4-day trip from that very, very, very safe place, Colombia. I think it's somewhere near where they filmed Romancing in the Stone, although don't quote me on it, because I watched that last night, full of gangs and violence, which pretty much sums up large parts of the country. If you're worried about, say, your safety, I can think of far better places to visit. My verdict on the trip: pointless, and frankly what they would have been doing had they continued with their royal duties, which begs the question, why leave and burn your bridges the way they have? But at least Prince Harry, after turning his back on his actual family and his father, seems to have found a new Hollywood father figure replacement: David Foster, a famous music producer who has become a close friend and confidant to the Duke of Sussex during his time in the US. Foster's wife, Catherine, apparently described the bond between Harry and her husband as like father and son. Oh, great, Harry. I'm sure your kids will thank you for that one. Is this Foster guy grandfather material as well? And also, not great news on the work front for the Sussexes either. It seems, as William's business's interests thrive, the couple's $1 million deal with Netflix to maintain that inflow of cash, all of that money that they need to sustain their extremely lavish lifestyle, has been bungled. And they are apparently stuck between a rock and a hard place. Oh, dear. Well, I imagine they may well be back, cap in hand. That's if we'll help them. Right, well, let's welcome on board Lee Cohen. I want to ask you about this. Royal expert Robert Jobson has advised Meghan to avoid entering politics because apparently she'd be eaten alive if she did. What do you think? What do you make of this, Lee?
Well, Nana, with her reputation for bullying, Meghan Markle is completely unsuitable to serve in politics, a polarizing narcissist with a failed record of public service in Britain and no legislative experience or subject matter expertise. Nana, Meghan and Harry... I'm sorry.
I was going to say that sounds like the perfect combination for a politician these days.
Well, no, you've got a point there. You've certainly got a point there. But right here's where it departs. You know, Meghan and Harry choreograph everything to control the image they project. And that approach is impossible when constituents seek answers from politicians. And also, Nana, to the extent that Ms. Markle is interested in the public debate, it's only to affiliate with the causes that further her image, which lacks a certain authenticity, shall we say.
But, you know, she has apparently, remember the, what was it, the washing up thing that happened, where she single-handedly changed the course of history so that it was no longer a woman doing the advert or whatever it was, but apparently that wasn't quite true. I think that she may well be quite a good candidate, and I can see the Republicans, especially with Kamala Harris leading the charge, they'd probably welcome Meghan in, surely.
Well, I don't know.
Not the Republicans.
No, actually, the Republicans might welcome her in because she would be such a disaster. I mean, can anyone imagine self-consumed, out-of-touch Markle dedicating herself to making decisions that impact the lives of millions of Americans? And as you talked about just before, her recent faux royal tours, Nana, they broadcast. The Sussexes' main goals are advancing their publicity in order to stay relevant, which they no longer are. They have no official duties. They represent no one but themselves and their own selfish interests. They're not the kind of people that the American public could get behind, and Meghan's not the kind of person that the American public could get behind in a public service role.
Because Robert Jobson also had a criticism about their tour to Colombia. I mean, you've alluded to it there. What was the point of it? If it was a PR thing, I don't know how well it went. But I would, you know, it looks to me like they literally have nothing to do. I mean, what do they do?
Well, they have nothing to do but to fight to stay relevant. That is their goal. You know, they stepped away from having the most interesting and world-renowned things to do, the most glorious service on earth that most people would give their eye teeth to be able to step into, and they gave that up to become nothing but Hollywood influencers. Well, so grifters, as they're now so famously tarred. But if ever Meghan did try to step into the public sphere in a policy role, in a political role, there's the question of the title that she so desperately clings to. The title that she clings to, though she's betrayed the institution that granted her that title and is connected to. Nana, people have speculated, because there's always speculation around Meghan, because she does such interesting activities that people are naturally going to comment on, and thrusts herself into the public light. But, U.S. constitutional experts have suggested that if ever she did throw her hat in the ring for public service, maintaining her title could conflict with Article 1, Section 9 of the Constitution. So she really needs to think about that. And, from her camp, it's even said that she probably has no interest in serving in a political role. But that doesn't stop the speculation, as we're doing right now.
Well, there are rumours that, I doubt this will happen, but if they choose to reside and live in the States, then they could be removed from the lineage anyway, which I think they should be, because they don't want to be part of it, and they would not be accepted by the British people anyway. So there literally is no point in them being in the line of succession in any way, shape or form, and that would probably be the end of their titles. Now, I want to move on to Prince Andrew and his ex-wife, Sarah Ferguson. They're refusing to leave Royal Lodge. I mean, seriously, they're sort of, in a way, I mean, they're not squatters, but technically, in a way, they are. If the landlord's trying to get rid of you, you won't go. I mean, what are you?
Well, sadly, the king has two massive entitlement problems on his plate, the Sussexes and the Duke of York. Does he really need, Nana, these problems amid serious health crises? It speaks to his best qualities that King Charles has been tolerant, to even great troublemakers in his family. He's been very good to his brother, generously supporting Prince Andrew financially from King Charles's own personal resources. And Andrew has no official duties and doesn't seem to need so large a house. So it seems that the best outcome would be for the Duke of York to move to Frogmore Cottage as proposed. He cannot, under the current scenario, afford to keep up Royal Lodge and maintain the security.
Well, he hasn't, has he? He hasn't met all the criteria which is required for him to live in it, and he has not maintained it in the way it needs to be, or the painting that needs to be done, and all that kind of thing. There's also lots of tension around the royal family, particularly focusing on King Charles's efforts to evict Prince Andrew and his wife, but also, despite a lot of their work, it's not forthcoming. Do you think that if Andrew doesn't go, that this will look quite bad? This will be quite bad for the king, because otherwise, how can King Charles get him out? Is there a way?
Well, I think by not paying his bills, the king is going a bit down that path, and. Let's face it, it's not being mean. It's not being mean if he were to remove the titles of the Sussexes as is proposed, and to remove Harry from the line of succession. And it's not mean to evict Prince Andrew. It's in furtherance of the monarchy. It's protecting the monarchy's integrity. It's preventing the monarchy from future damage. It's protecting its institution. It's ensuring clarity and focus on the roles of the people who are associated with the institution. And it aligns privileges with responsibilities. And I'm sorry, you go.
No, go on. And there was a big and. I can't wait to hear it. And
Well, the big and is it sets a precedent for accountability by taking a firm stance with Prince Andrew's residencies. King Charles rightly sets a precedent for accountability within the royal family. The action would communicate that no member, regardless of their birthright or past contributions, is beyond reproach for their behavior. So too, he has done similarly by ejecting the Sussexes from their only UK residence. Now it's time to go the full Monty with the Sussexes, who make trouble even during the monarchy's gut-wrenching health challenge.
Yeah, I just don't see the need for them to have the royal titles if they're not prepared to be part of the royal family in the United Kingdom. There literally is no point, and it feels to me that they will take the benefit of it, but they're not prepared to do the hard work that's required for the monarchy, but they're prepared to do it for themselves, which I think is wrong. Now, let's go to former President Donald Trump. He has dismissed claims from the new biography of Queen Elizabeth II that she found him very rude. I thought they got on. Who's written this biography, apparently? I don't believe it. Do you believe it?
Well, President Trump is not the only one to cast doubt on Craig Brown, the book's author. Nana Brown is the same person who wrote a salacious book about Princess Margaret that her very close friend, Baroness Glenconner, described as that horrible book. And Nana, quite frankly, you know, none of us knows what the Queen, the late beloved Queen, may have said in privacy, but it is eye-rolling that someone can attribute something to the Queen who Queen Elizabeth, that is, so consummately professional and discreet that, you know, that now she has left the earth. They're attributing statements, by the way, that are anonymous. They're not even attributed to anyone in specific. And how unthinkable and out of character for Her Majesty to openly speculate about the state of someone's marriage, as Brown alleged.
I feel it's rubbish. I mean, look, I haven't read the book, but I just don't believe it. I don't believe it because she's not alive to question him. And if this is true, he could have released a book earlier and he could have talked about it earlier. But it seems a bit odd that this is coming out just before the elections. Lee Cohen, thank you very much. Really good to talk to you. That is Lee Cohen. Brilliant. Let's head over to Angela Levin to get the latest from her. Angela Levin, Prince Harry is apparently working on a new venture with Better Up. This is a US-based coaching platform where he serves as a chief impact officer, whatever that means.
Yes. Now, anyone who saw Harry while they're in Olympia would realise that he's really not well himself. I have never seen anybody look so downhearted, so distant from everybody, and not getting involved with everything else. I mean, I know him well because I spent 15 months with him doing his biography, and towards the end, he felt much stronger, but the way he looked was really frightening. And I think to put somebody like that in charge is absolutely ridiculous. He has said that it took him 4 years of therapy to get over, to heal himself from being with the royal family. He says he wants to give people something. He wants to help people in every possible way. That all sounds good, but you have to be strong yourself. He's not got any degrees or anything to do this work, only his own knowledge of himself. And
well, some people would argue that the actual experience of the issue that you're dealing with, having had that experience, sometimes you can be the best placed person to then mentor others with it. And I suspect that's what this Better Up organisation is suspecting, that he would be a good advocate because of it. Although in his book, or he has said that when Meghan Markle was suffering issues with her mental health, he didn't sort of notice it, or he didn't do anything about it. I mean, remember in the Oprah interview, we're like, well, aren't you championing mental health? Why didn't... That bit didn't really make any sense to me.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you with that, if somebody's experienced it. But he has not come out of the experience. He is still looking very, very ill and not able to do things normally and enjoy things. And even when he's in the public eye, he can't seem to do it. So I think he needs to get really well first before you can put someone before other people. Otherwise, they'll think, oh, my goodness, look at him, or he's in a very bad mood today. He's subject to up and down moods. So you have to be careful. The other thing to be careful about is that we don't want Harry going on about himself. I mean, when Meghan talks to people, she goes on about herself. She tells them about what she did when she was 11 and onwards from there, and talks about her children and all these things. But she doesn't actually necessarily help the people. And I think it would be a waste for Harry to do that, talk about himself and how awful the royal family was and how difficult it was and how awful they were when he and Meghan wanted to leave the royal family. I think you can't go and do something like that unless you're well yourself. You can't send ill people to talk to ill people.
Well, I mean, I don't know how ill he is, and he may feel that he's healed. But I just think that he's just banging on about this same thing. He's a 40-year-old man, or coming up to 40 years old. Come on, move on. We are talking about this because I think a lot of us are just complete and utter disbelief that he is using this as a hook constantly and supposedly helping others. And it's good if he does, but I'm not sure how helpful he is. And I also don't think he's considered the mental health of his own family, like the King and also William and Catherine. I mean, you need to show consideration for others' mental health. It can't just be all about you. What about Meghan Markle? Now, she is reportedly in tears over the negative response to her website, American Riviera Orchard. And these weren't tears of joy. These were tears of upset.
Yeah, she doesn't feel that people are appreciating her enough. Now, this is something she's felt all the way through the time she was in the UK and ever since, because she thinks she can do things when she can't. I think she's very clever. She can do lots of things. But she doesn't let other people explain. And Netflix is fed up with them because she won't let the leaders there tell her how things can be done. She thinks she knows how to do it. And I think this is exactly the same with what she's doing now. Now, what's wrong I thought, was that she brought out 50 jars of jam, very nicely put in a jar, which she sent to friends. Only 2 or 3 of them replied to her. She was very, very upset about that. But it was done on the first day that Princess Catherine was seen publicly with Trooping the Colour in June. And people were very shocked that she'd deliberately done that. But if you think kindly, you think, oh, right, now here there's going to be a rush of everything. But there's been really nothing except 1 jam jar of a different, raspberries rather than strawberry, and a jar of dog biscuits. So that's not enough, really. And now she's got to wait.
Why?
Hold on. Now she's got to wait till next spring because they haven't been doing any of the paperwork. And US patents and trademarks are not at all pleased with anything. So whether it's bird feeders, pet shampoo, wine bags with a handle, letter openers, whatever it is, they're not letting anything through until all this is sorted out. And it takes a long time. They are meticulous, and so nothing can be done till next spring. So not surprising, Netflix is fed up. They've paid out all the money for her to do these things in different homes, but the basis of actually doing something huge like this is not going to. You can't go ahead. So she's upset, perhaps with herself. Because you can't.
Well, you can't tell who's. Well, if she's upset, whether it's with herself or someone else. But she should perhaps look at the timing of that one, because it's quite clear if you launch something like that and then you are doing it at the same time as somebody who's had a very serious health issue, it just doesn't work out. People will look at that. It's interesting that they don't see themselves from outside themselves to see how it might be perceived. I find that most odd. Now, what about the Colombia trip? Meghan Markle apparently took measures to prevent a diplomatic nightmare because during the trip, Harry was asked to apologise for slavery. I don't think they apologised yet. During that 10-series documentary that they did, I think Freya Hirsch or somebody on there called the Monarchy or the British Empire 2.0. So I don't get if they were going to apologise. I'm wondering what they got themselves into there.
Yes, well, it's very interesting. The thing was that they obviously were very cautious about it because there was no sound. They didn't want sound, and I imagine they didn't want sound if something's leaked out and the journalists leapt on it. So you couldn't understand anything that was going on. You had to mouth read, but that wasn't very good because they were at a distance. But this word, giving money for the slavery, for the slaves, hundreds of years ago, said to Harry, I don't know if Meghan muscled in, but the point is that the slaves in Colombia were Spanish, not English. So she was talking very generally. You need to say that in 1840, Prince Albert apologised for all of it, and it was thought then it was done. So we have a long gap where suddenly it comes back. But Harry has no power. He has no authority. He can't make any statements about anything like that. And if he does, I mean, what will happen with the royal family could be very, very dangerous. So I think it's now already boiling. The fact that you and I know that that's what happened is very dangerous. And I think that something will have to be done now by King Charles. I was thinking you can hang on, wait, but you can't let somebody be in that position to actually start a discussion or an argument or what he feels because he has no power.
Right, well, I want to make sure we've got time for this one because Meghan Markle, apparently, they are eager to reconcile with the royal family. This is all rumours that apparently she's setting aside conditions for Prince Harry if she were to return to the UK. What do you know about that?
Yeah, well, if I had a long time, I would go on and on about this one, Nana. Perhaps another time. But of course she doesn't. The only thing is that they're going very, very unpopular with America. They need money. They need a big home. They need lots of protection. And they're not going to get it if they're not going to work.
I suppose that's pretty much that, isn't it? If you don't work, you don't get the money, and you can't just be there and be paid. I'm just paid to be there.
They won't be controlled. By that I mean they won't go with all the protocol and slip in and be nice. It will be what they want when they want. And also King Charles has to think about Prince William, his heir to the throne, and also Catherine, who would not. A kind and lovely person as she is, we've got to protect her from Meghan saying nasty things.
Well, you know, or the press. Meghan would argue she wants the press to protect her and blah, 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 blah. But frankly, I mean, we've seen a lot of the things that have come out of the Sussexes' mouths, and much of it hasn't been true. So it's difficult to then have, if they were to come back here, were they to have any credibility, and could the rest of the royal family trust them? I think the answer is no. And Meghan still has yet to reconcile with her father and Harry with his, and also to take their children to see the grandparents. I mean, there's just too much going on. Angela Levin, I've got to leave it there, but it's been such a pleasure talking to you as ever. That is royal biographer and expert Angela Levin.